Uh, in Florida, there is now a bill that is being filed, that has been filed, to put untrained Christian chaplains in public schools as a substitute for trained social workers and counselors. And if you think I am saying something I've said in the past and you're feeling deja vu of some sort, you are correct, because we have already seen this in Texas, where they made this a law, and Iowa, and actually several other states. So here's the bill that has been filed in Florida. I'm going to share this with you here so you could see it along with me. School chaplains. Each school district or charter school may adopt a policy to authorize volunteer school chaplains to provide support, services, and programs to students as assigned by the district school board or charter school governing board. The school district, well, all of them at a minimum, they must describe what the volunteer school chaplains will do. They must require that principals of schools with a volunteer school chaplain inform all parents of the availability of that person. Now, here's where I found it interesting. It says you need parental permission before a student can meet with that chaplain, which, you know what? I like that provision. That's important. They also say these volunteer school chaplains have to pass a background check. They have to list their religious affiliation on the school district's website. All that is well and good. But the policy itself is still super broken, right? And that's the problem here. The caveats make this bill better than what they passed in Texas, but the entire bill is just another way to shove Christianity into public schools. Because Christians, unlike other smaller faiths or secular groups, they already have the infrastructure to ordain chaplains. They can create more chaplains. If a school district was looking to hire a chaplain, odds are they're going to find a Christian who can fill that role. That said, this bill doesn't say what type of ordination is needed. There are no qualifications to be a chaplain. I guess someone just has to vouch and say you're a chaplain. But if you wore a little tiny hat that said chaplain on the brim, as far as I know, that counts. You can be a volunteer chaplain as long as you pass a background check. There is no minimum amount of training needed, which means their services won't be nearly as useful as they would be if offered by trained professionals. That's the problem here. And the person who is promoting this bill over and over and pushing for it, that person's name is Erin Grell. She is, where did we go? Oh, I wanted to show you this. She is an anti-abortion. When you hear about Ron DeSantis pushing all these horrible bills through Florida, a lot of them are thanks to Senator Erin Grell, who has helped push his abortion ban in Florida, things like that. Check this out though, because I found this interesting. If you are Florida and you have a look at this, there in their recent budget proposal, there's a surplus of over $20 billion, billion with the B. And yet, if you had that kind of money in your state, what would you do? I would hope, if mental health was a concern and you wanted to help the children, you would say, we're going to hire more, we're going to train more counselors, train more social workers, and then hire them. And we're going to pay teachers more. But look at this. According to this article here, the National Association of School Psychologists says there is one psychologist for every 1,828 Florida students, more than 3 times, the recommended ratio. They are lacking people in these professions. If you're lacking that stuff, if you're lacking people in those trained positions, the solution is to throw more money at that problem, pay them more, train them more. What you don't do is pull people off the street with no training and just throw them at the problem. That's only going to make things worse. And also, it doesn't help that Florida's Republican Party is, according to this headline here, if I can show you, this is, teachers say they can't live and work in Florida anymore, which is a problem. Like, Ron DeSantis's educational policies are so bad, many teachers are just leaving the state because of how draconian they are. So that doesn't surprise me either. It's no wonder you can't find these people. But what did Erin Grell say about all this in these articles? Why did she say she supported this bill and having these people offer this other perspective. I want to find, I was looking for one particular thing. Let's see if I could find it here. It like disappeared on me. Come back highlighted bit that I was looking for. I will find it somewhere. All right, I'm just going to show you this right here. Boom. Look at what Aaron Grahl said. I view this as an alternative to mental health counselors. I see this as an alternative for families. She dismissed the idea that the argument that chaplains could give students bad advice. What happens when our children receive the wrong advice from a mental health counselor? Like, she, when asked what happens if the counselors, the fake counselors, the chaplains, what happens when those chaplains do a bad job? She's like, well, what happens when real health professionals do a bad job? And the thing is, if you are a trained counselor or a trained social worker, you might make a mistake. That does happen with everybody. But the fact that they're trained means they make fewer mistakes. That's the point. And if they make an egregious mistake, there are going to be repercussions for it. By replacing those trained professionals with faith-based chaplains, that is a clear sign you're not interested in good advice, reason-based advice, like laboratory-tested advice. This problem is so bad that in Texas, where they passed this law already, religious chaplains have literally begged school districts not to go through with it because they know what the lawmakers don't. They want to see kids thrive, and those chaplains know that just throwing faith-based services at children who are not asking for it creates more problems than it solves, right? And again, if you want to see a chaplain and you're a teenager, or you're a parent and you want your kid to see a chaplain, you can already do that. Just go to church. It's fine. This is what the assistant state director of American Atheist said. I personally don't want to see an untrained, I think they mean untrained counselor, telling my children, they are unworthy or to stigmatize them. And I think that's a valid concern. What happens if a kid in a high school is depressed because they are gay, because they are trans, and they want to talk to an adult about it, and the adult they end up talking to is a Christian chaplain who doesn't even think trans people exist and who thinks there's something wrong with being gay? Like, you are not going to get the help you need, which you would have had you talked to a trained chaplain. You know what I mean? That's messed up. So the bill I showed you, that was the version filed in the Senate, but the Florida House is already on the verge of voting for this bill. And it's not just Republicans. The Florida version, the House version of this bill in Florida got the votes of two Democrats who sponsored it, Kim Daniels and Lisa Dunkley, both of whom are like functional Republicans. They have a D next to their name, but they are conservative and just totally crazy when it comes to religion. So that's not helping. The Senate version, the one I showed you, that just got approved by the Education Committee. And the only thing they changed before they passed that bill in committee is that there was a provision that said every school district has to vote on whether or not they want school chaplains. And the thing is, why do we need to vote on it if the law says you can have it? They want school districts to vote on it because if a school district says no, they want to go after those school districts. They want to pretend like it's a choice and then punish you if you make the choice they don't like. But that's where we're in with the Senate version. They removed that clause and then passed the bill, and now it's up for a vote there. So the one person I want to give a shout out to here, when it came to discussing this bill, in the state Senate, one Democrat fought against it. And check this out. This is from Religion News Service here. I'm going to remove this highlighting and I'm trying to go away. There we go. Democratic Senator Rosalind Osgood, who has, let me break this bigger, who has a master's degree in divinity, is a former Broward County School Board member and served as a chaplain for the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. She is someone who fits every version of this bill. Like, she's done it all. She voted against the bill. She said the idea could create division among parents fighting for or against the policy when education should be the priority. It puts school districts in a position that takes their attention away from education. Now the school board is focused on chaplaincy instead of education. And she warned about the widely different interpretations of religious beliefs, even among Christians, such as some Baptist organizations that don't approve of women being pastors and people who use religion divisively instead of accepting all people. Like, yes, ding, 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 you nailed it. That is a Democrat, again, Rosalind Osgood, who is a chaplain, who knows all this stuff and says, yeah, we don't want to do this. It's a bad idea. You don't want to open this Pandora's box. So I am right there with them. But this is Florida where all good things go to die. So I don't feel optimistic about this bill getting stopped. I think they're going to do whatever Texas is doing, no matter how many students don't want it, no matter how many adults with experience say this is a bad idea, they're still going to go through with it. So that's scary. Keep an eye on this bill. We'll see what happens.